Yeah, it's not any secret. Yesterday's home opener wasn't that great. Actually, it kind of sucked. But hey, it's baseball season. Stretch, I know you're a baseball fan. And for those of you that don't like the cold, baseball season means summer's on its way. Things are going to start warming up. Yeah, I was talking with my good buddy Derek. Good grief, I don't even know how to say his last name. He's got one of them Cajun names. Do we want background music? I was talking with my brother Derek this morning, and you know, it's phone conversations like the one that him and I had. We've been connected on Facebook for quite a few months actually, and it's funny because he's one of the folks that thought that I worked at Toyota down in West Plains, and no, I never worked there. I used to do a lot of goofy videos and stuff. Probably one of my best friends in life, Eric King, works down there. He's one of their salespeople. I've known Eric since he was, I think, 18 years old or something like that. Great guy, super awesome guy. But no, I never worked there. We used to do videos, not every day, but quite often, mostly just poking fun at different things and having a good time and trying to create smiles. And I'll be honest with you, that's been difficult. It really has. That is a neat old truck over there. Y'all see that pull up? That is sweet. My dad had a 5-window when I was a kid. But anyhow, it's been difficult. It really has. I've gone through a mess of hurt, both emotionally and physically, my health. I'm wearing my bro right now, by the way. They say I'm supposed to wear this thing 24 hours a day. I got to tell you, that's difficult. You sleep with a CPAP machine, and then I'm not going to show you the bro. It's underneath my t-shirt. But see if I can't get this control module up here. You also got to sleep with this thing. You know, it's got a wire. That's the brain for that sucker. What was it, 150 joules? I had to look it up. And the battery, they say, the guy that brought it to me told me that the battery itself had enough life, even at a low charge, to deliver 3 shocks. Yeah. Defibrillator, if you don't understand what I'm talking about. 3 shocks to your heart to restart your heart. And he says you'll never even feel it. And you know, that was one of my concerns getting this thing, was what happens if I'm driving around or doing whatever, it just keeps shocking me because my heart rhythm's all messed up. And he said, no, it don't work like that. He said, this is only in the event of a catastrophic failure of the heart. And like I had this past Saturday. We're going to talk about that in a video one of these days, but I'm not going to go into that right now. I want to talk about the bro. But anyhow, reading about it and just wearing it for just a few hours the very first day, I realized that it actually brings comfort to mind because, you know, once you've had a traumatic experience, like in my case, a cardiac arrest, and I died. I mean, a cardiac arrest, a heart attack, and I've had many of those, okay? I think 7. One of them may have been a stroke. We don't know. I didn't stay in the hospital very long. If you know me very well, you don't have to know me very well at all to know that I do not like hospitals. Hospitals and me do not get along. It's nothing against the hospital. There's great people working in the medical industry that do everything they can to make a patient comfortable. Myself, I wear down very, very, very fast. Very fast. Speaking with, I believe she was a nurse practitioner yesterday, she was explaining to me the white coat syndrome. And I don't really understand what goes on with me, and I don't really understand what all she was saying, but I can tell you that from the very first needle stick, that's where I had an IV there. They took that one out and moved it over here. And I had one here and here and here. And I took out all of these myself. That's where I was. I was ready to leave. AMA. I'm gone. I'm taking off. I don't care if I die. Actually, the dying experience was pretty cool. This time around. The last time it wasn't so cool. But it occurred to me that the one that they removed, I bruised. The ones that I removed, you can't even hardly see where they were. I've gotten pretty good at removing those. But anyhow, going back to the Life Vest is what it's called. Life Vest External Defibrillator. Going back to it, peace of mind is one of the things that it's even described in the manual and on their website is that it offers. Myself, just in normal everyday life, and with things that's going on in my personal life, my psyche has been attacked pretty heavily, and I'm not going to point any fingers at anybody. If you're watching this video, you know what's going on. It is what it is, and I hate that phrase. I hate that phrase because when we say it is what it is, we are giving power to that situation over us. I like to say, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. Okay? Because that puts that power back on my side of the court. Repeat that. If it is to be, it is up to me. There's a lot of wisdom in just those words, and that's not something I came up with on myself. As a matter of fact, when I moved to Kansas City, one of the radio ads for Genesis Health Club, that's kind of like their radio mantra, if you will. If it is to be, it's up to me. I've not joined a gym. My doctor tells me that we're not ready for that. That's going to happen. We got to get some electrical things taken care of, and that's coming. April the 20th is the tentative date for me to get my pacemaker. That was something else, more peace of mind that I got yesterday at my doctor's appointment with this nurse practitioner. She explained to me, and I've talked to 4 different doctors, and I've had 4 different answers on what it is that they're planning on implanting in me. And she looked at the charts, and she said what has been ordered is called a CRT, that's a pacemaker, /D, defibrillator. Okay, so, which is the internal version of what I'm wearing right now. And she explained to me, and this was one of the problems that I was having, is if it was just an internal defibrillator, that does nothing to improve my life. It does nothing to improve my heart function, my circulation. And by the way, right now my heart function is poor. So poor that they have moved up. You know, we're no longer looking at the possibility of needing. We're going to get you in as soon as possible, and April 20th is as soon as they can do right now. But they're still looking for openings for this to happen sooner. And that's the reason why I'm wearing the Life Vest, is because once you've had a cardiac arrest, the next one is imminent. You know, it's no longer prophylactic. It's happened. The defibrillator is no longer prophylactic. It's happened, and I died. I did, and you know, by the grace of God and the wisdom and efforts of the people at KU Medical Center in the emergency room department, I'm still alive today to talk about it. And this is the second time in my life that this has happened. The first time I was listening to Derek's live video earlier today, and he talks about it being by your own hand. And the first time it was by my own hand. I committed suicide. And fortunately, the staff in the helicopter that was carrying me, Air-Evac, who was carrying me to Springfield, Missouri, was able to resuscitate me in flight. That was not a pleasant experience. Not at all. What I experienced during that time flatlined was not what anybody would ever want to see or feel. This time it was completely different. It was so peaceful. Oh my gosh. As a matter of fact, it was so peaceful when I was coming to, I got off the defibrillator, I'm sorry. When I was coming to, and I could see this girl with long brown hair doing the chest compressions, and her hair wasn't tied back and it was flailing back and forth. I'm sitting there thinking every time she punched down on my chest how bad it hurt. And I couldn't say anything because I wasn't fully revived yet. I couldn't say anything, but I was thinking, no, stop. Just let it go. Let it happen. And as a matter of fact, later when I was moved up to the heart care ICU during the initial recovery, I was asked specifically, if you have another cardiac arrest, do you want us to resuscitate you? And I had to think about that for a second. I really did. And obviously my answer was yes. My mother had a DNR, do not resuscitate. And it was hard to honor that. But the stroke that she had was going to completely change her life. She wouldn't have enjoyed life after that. And she'd already made her decision. So we honored it as she asked. Myself personally, sitting there pondering, do you want us to resuscitate you? I was battling in my brain that wonderful death experience and the possibility of getting to spend time with my son again. This isn't meant to strike out at anybody. This is from that heart that stopped beating the other day. In 2017, I was told I needed a triple bypass. And let's back up. When I moved to the Florida Keys, I went down there to get away from life and basically to die. Heart wasn't good then. I was still having all kinds of problems. But had I never come back to West Plains, I'd never met the doctor that did the triple bypass. And my son is the reason why I left my boat down in the Florida Keys. I had a 40-foot motor cell. It wasn't nothing fancy. It provided all of my needs: a place to sleep, a place to live, a place to cook, shelter from the rain. Fortunately, I had air conditioning. Why did I leave the Florida Keys? That was asked of me just a few days before I left West Plains. And I left the Florida Keys and went back to West Plains to meet that boy, my son, Jacob Matson Sloan. Not for anything else, to meet him. When it came time to do the bypass surgery, when that was presented, had it not been for Jacob Matson Sloan, I'd have never had it. I'd have let nature run its course. When asked the other day, Saturday night, it may have been Sunday morning by that time, I'm not sure, if you have another catastrophic event, do you want us to work to revive you? I had to ponder the peace that I found during those few minutes that I was flatlined. And I was not in this world, I guarantee you. I'm not going to tell you where I was, but you'll get a pretty good idea. I had to ponder that peace, that beautiful, I don't know how to describe it, and a possibility of seeing my son again. The boy that I was crying out for after I had my third episode prior to the catastrophic one, and they put the sticker defibrillator pads on me. When I saw the severity of what was happening, that's all I wanted to do was talk to my son. Unfortunately, I can't do that. Is it right? I don't think so. The person that's forcing that, I'm sure that they believe that it's right. I'm not going to say that they're wrong. I don't know. But my son is the reason why I'm still alive today. He's the reason why I chose to not sign a DNR. But I've also found that I've got purpose. And that kind of leads into what my brother Derek is talking about in his video. And I hope that you find him on Facebook. I'll try to do a link. But it goes back to a poem that was read at my mother's memorial service called The Dash, written by a lady down in someplace in Georgia. She's outside of Atlanta, Linda Ellis. And it talks about that dash in between your birth date and your death date on a headstone. And I don't remember the poem verbatim. I'm going to post, I'll copy it and put it on there, put a link to her page, and so you can read it yourself. But we have no control over the day we're born. And as Derek says in his video, and as I did in 2007, unless it's by your hand, you have no control over your death date. My death date's tattooed on the back of my neck, and there's another one coming because I've been dead twice now. But what we can control is that dash. That dash represents the life between birth and death. And Derek talks about this, and I don't know if he's ever read the poem or not. We didn't discuss it in our phone call today, but it's been on my mind. And that one thing that we have control of is the dash, is, what we leave behind. And it's not just people or materialistic things. If you know me, you know I'm not a materialistic person. Everything that I have worked for and helped pay for over the last 7 years was to leave behind to him, because I know that I will not be around when he becomes a young man. So I was planning for his future. But it's not just talking about that. It's the ripples that you leave behind you as you go through days, just regular days in your life. I mentioned the girl doing the chest compressions. Her name was Ashley. The very first ride that I gave to somebody was actually a prisoner release transport, and she was released to drug and alcohol treatment facility under the conditions that she went to this. And it just so happens to have been on Ashley Road. And I know that just sounds like a weird coincidence, but Ashley put me back in this car so I could get that girl to where she needed to be, who was suffering the exact same situation that I had gone through before I ever went to West Plains, back in the early 90s. And it gave me the opportunity to share a bit of my testimony with her. When we got out of the car, before we walked in, she asked me what made it stick. I used to be a meth head bad. Imagine me at 127 pounds. I'm 222, I think is what I weighed this morning. I used to be a bad meth head. And I tell you what, that's something other than cigarettes, that's probably one of the worst things to try to recover from, to try to beat. But I don't really have the answer to what made it stick, but I think it's very heavily related to where I went Saturday night when I died. You know, we can't base our life or our sobriety or whatever on other people or other things, because if that thing is taken away, then you have no reason to continue on, okay? My son is important to me. My marriage was important to me in the aspect that I wanted a safe, stable home for my son. That's been removed from my life, but that's not going to stop who I am. If you want to know who I am, you just keep following, because I guarantee you the ripples will continue. I see those ripples continuing in West Plains even in my absence, while people are trying to make me look less than what I am. Got a new hat today. It's baseball season, as I said. Many to choose from. I went with the kind of the retro hat from back in the 80s. It's got the addition of the American flag, because you know I am a patriot. God love you. Great smiles.